Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Syndra, the Dark Sovereign Champion preview. In this video, I will be showcasing all of Syndra's skills and abilities. To start off, we have Syndra's passive, Transcendent. Each of Syndra's basic abilities gain an extra effect at maximum rank. First we have Syndra's Q, Dark Sphere. On use, conjures a dark sphere at the target location, dealing magic damage. The sphere lasts for up to 6 seconds and can be manipulated by Syndra's other abilities. The Transcendent bonus deals 50% bonus damage against champions. The base cooldown is 4 seconds. It has a low scaling mana cost, a decent scaling AP with a 50% AP ratio. Next we have Force of Will, Syndra's W. On use, it grabs a Dark Sphere, enemy minion, or neutral monster. This cannot grab Dragon or Baron or enemy champions. Upon use, it throws the grasped Dark Sphere or enemy at a target area. Enemy struck will take magic damage and slowed for 1.5 seconds. The Transcendent bonus increases the slow duration to 2 seconds. It has scaling mana cost, cooldowns, and a slow. The magic damage scales at a decent amount with a 70% AP ratio. Next we have Syndra's E, Force of Will. On use, knocks enemies and Dark Spheres back, dealing magic damage to them and any enemies they collide with. The distance of the knockback increased depending on how close the affected units are to Syndra. Dark Spheres are knocked back also stun enemies for about 1.5 seconds. The Transcendent bonus is the spell width is increased by 50%. With a base mana cost of 50, the cooldown scales with leveling and the magic damage scales quite highly with a 40% ratio. Next we have Syndra's R, Unleashed Power. This spell has 3 sphere minimum damage as Syndra uses the 3 spheres floating around her. All Dark Spheres remain on the ground for 6 seconds and can be manipulated by Syndra's other abilities. Now she can add 3 spheres from her Q to add to the damage, and she maxes them out at 6. Now the base mana cost for this is 100, and its cooldowns are not really that drastic. It is spammable and good for laning. Damage per sphere is about 15% on the ratio, but the damage does double from rank 1 to rank 3. Now, the ratios are 45% on the 3 spheres, and it's 90%, which is double the percentage of the 3 spheres. So, it doesn't actually change the ratio, it's just adding on. Now we have the item builds, runes, and masteries. These are all my opinion, and they are mine alone. If you disagree with them, good, and you should try and build them better. These are what I found successful in my games of playing her, and these are essentially what I think are great for Syndra. For Syndra, I took AP per level quints, flat AP blues, mana regen and cooldown yellows, and magic pen reds. The reason for the AP per level quints is because Syndra will stay in lane for a long time because she is great at poking and needs to have extra ability power as she does this. Now we have the flat AP blues, which give her the early game boost she needs, so she has the ability to get boots and pots and not be mitigated in damage. We have the mana regen and the cooldown yellows because 1, she's going to be spamming abilities a lot in lane, and 2, that 1% cooldown coupled with the mastery cooldowns give her just enough cooldown on her Q so she can have 3 of her orbs up at level 6 without any other CDR. The reason I put magic pen in there is because it is needed on most champions, especially if they start to build against her. This allows her more early game harass and allows her to scale better into mid and late game. Next we have Masteries. I suggest 2109, putting points into cooldown and ability power in offensive, and putting points into mana regen and relic extension in utility. The reasoning behind this is Syndra needs a little bit of cooldown in the beginning so that she can keep more of her orbs on the field at a time, and this also couples with what you get in the runes, which allow her to have, at level 6, the ability to have 6 orbs on the field. Now, the ability power is yet again for early game, so she is allowed to have more damage and scale better because of the other masteries later down the tree. Now, for mana regen on utility, I thought about this, and along with her natural regen per level, you're looking at every level gaining about half of a mana. So every 2 levels you're getting 1 extra mana per second. This gives her great sustain as she builds her items and allows her to travel good into late game. As for the items, I recommend starting off with boots and 3 health potions, or starting off with a Doran's ring, depending on what you think your lane is going to be. If you think your lane is going to be easy, go with the Doran's ring, but I do suggest the boots and 3. Now your early game goals are as follows. You're going to want your boots early as possible because Syndra is highly mobile, and playing on this is great. You're also going to want your gold over 5, which is your Cage's lucky pick. Now this gives you your gold over 5 and some ability power. It's really cheap, and it's a great item, and it helps you build into an item for later. You also have your Fiendish Codex, which gives you ability power, mana regen, and a cooldown reduction. This is even better for Syndra, and gives her really great early game damage. Now your mid-game items is where you're trying to get all your ability power so that you can start building tanky once you're out of lane. Now I'm guesstimating mid-game is when at least a couple turrets are down and people are starting to roam. You're going to want to finish your Morellos, which is around 500 gold, which shouldn't be that hard. Then you're going to want to get your fixings for the Rabadon's Death Cap and your Rylai's Crystal Scepter. Now I would suggest rushing the Giant's Belt if you have more damage coming in than you need to, and skipping over the Blasting Rod, but that is my own opinion. But I do suggest your late game goals, having that Rylai's. The CC is great, it adds even more of a slow to your abilities and allows you to spam and a target to really not escape as well, and it's really good for utility and survivability. Now your optional items are Abyssal Scepter, Zonia's Hourglass, Rod of Ages, and Athene's Unholy Grail. The reasoning behind these are Syndra needs to get close for her E, and if she is played correctly, this can always be in the field of an enemy, and you can always get that debuff. This also is really great if they have an AP intensive team. Now the reason I picked the Zonias is because sometimes after her ultimate you have the lack of your cooldowns, and you might start to get focused if the people know and play right. So it's great to have this so you can pop it to get your cooldowns ready and get right back into the fight and make sure that you don't take much damage. The Rod of Ages is an item that you'd have to work on earlier in the game, but could have great benefits later game. If you're going up against a very tough lane and you're not able to build as glass cannon as you need, I suggest getting this instead of your Morellos, and then getting your Morellos with your mid to late game items and going through that. Now right here, the Athenes is kind of another option for starting early and getting late. Now you can get the Fiendish Codex early with the Athenes. You're going to want to go for the Fiendish Codex and you're going to want to go for the Grail as your early game items, but you're still going to want those boots. Now with your mid game items, you're going to build the Grail, and this will completely get rid of your Morellos, but this also gets rid of a lot of your early game damage because the Athenes doesn't build it until you build the actual Athenes. Now this is a great item if you're going up against a hard lane where you have to poke a lot, and I suggest it whenever you need it. And I would have to say, if you are getting the Athenes, to get your Rylai's first and then work into your Rabadons, because you get the Rylai's earlier so you have more survivability in your lane, and the fact that you already have a nice surplus of mana, you just need some health and then damage. Thank you for watching the Syndra Champion preview. If you enjoyed the content provided, leave a like. If you want to stay current, subscribe. If you think your friends will like this video, please share this video. And I'll talk to you all later.